You're listening to The David Knight Show.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at politics because we have have a couple of different diseases that are already in the U.S. One of them is socialism / communism / environmentalism. Look, folks, those are all just euphemisms for totalitarianism. Centrally controlling everything without any restrictions. Every detail of your life centrally controlled. That's what we're really talking about here. You can use whatever ism you want, but it is totalitarianism that is being sold by the Democrats. But let's also understand, as I pointed out many times, that Buttigieg is an interesting figure because he has based his campaign, his special secret identity, not so secret, except to one particular voter in the Iowa caucus. But he has held forth his special identity politics as being gay. That's been at the forefront of his run for president, right? He's been the mayor of a small town, South Bend, Indiana, where Notre Dame is. And that liberal town elected him as mayor. He hasn't had much experience. I think it's about the 380th town in terms of size in the United States. So there's about 379 other mayors who've managed more than Buttigieg has. And actually, Biden had a very good ad talking about how, I was vice president going to funerals. No, he pretends that he's at the epicenter of everything that Obama did. And maybe you don't want to pretend that with the general electorate. That might be popular in the Democrat Party, but not with the rest of us. Anyway, he portrayed himself as being, at the center of the universe, getting all these big things done while, Buttigieg, as mayor of a small town, was deciding, what color they're going to paint the fence and that type of thing. But his special power was the fact that he was going to be the first LGBT president. And he's been right out front about that. That's why when I looked at his name, it's so difficult to pronounce. I think call it Booty Judge, maybe. Maybe that's the right way to pronounce it. I thought, Buttigieg, that's a little bit easier to say. And it actually is something I think he'd be quite proud of. But his real identity, the secret identity, the one he doesn't want you to see, because it's not his superpower, not in this election, is his Marxist identity. His father, his mentor in Harvard, a hardcore Marxist. This guy is more of a Marxist than Bernie Sanders is. Bernie Sanders and AOC are hated by the Democrat establishment because they just wear it on their sleeve. And they go around singing communist songs, literally. Honeymooning in Moscow just before the collapse of that system and talking about how wonderful it is. Oh, yeah, they had lines for food. At least they had food. Well, we had food here in America, and we didn't have to stand in lines. As a matter of fact, we'd go into grocery stores and we'd be able to choose from any kind of numbers of food, right? 50 different types of Jell-O or whatever. As a matter of fact, when that finally got to Russia after the collapse of the Soviet Union, I remember reading articles from people going into the new supermarkets that they had in Russia saying, this is just confusing having all these choices. There's food on the shelf. I'm not used to seeing that much food on the shelf, and certainly not having a choice as to how many kinds of Jell-O I'm going to get. But those are problems that we can live with. Those are first world problems. Those are capitalist problems that we are confronted with on a daily basis here. So they want to save us from that kind of concern. So he keeps his Marxism kind of quiet. But his LGBT credentials were out front and center yesterday. I remember when I was following the Pope around on his visit here to America, and there was one event where they had very, very high security. You don't get anywhere near the Pope. But at one point, a little boy, an illegal alien, a dreamer. Well, his dreams just broke through that security cordon, and he ran out to the Pope, and the Pope stopped the Pope-mobile. And he picked him up, and they had a photo opportunity, and it was all about open borders and immigration and compassion and children and so forth. And we had a similar situation at one of the events with Buttigieg. We had a question from a boy that I think was put in there by his parents. Zachary, age 9. And I think that just as this was arranged for that kid with the Pope, I think this question that was given to Buttigieg was a photo opportunity. They want you to see this. So let's play this back and forth, and we'll talk about this. Video clip number 2.
Zachary, age 9. And this is a really touching question. He says, "Thank you for being so brave. Would you help me tell the world I'm gay too? I want to be brave like you."
Well, I don't think you need a lot of advice from me on bravery. You seem pretty strong. To see you, it took me a long time to figure out how to tell even my best friend that I was gay, let alone to go out there and tell the world.
He might have even been an adult. Who
You
knows?
willing to come to terms with who you are in a room full of 1,000 people, thousands of people you've never met. That's really something.
Yay, let's celebrate LGBT. That's what this is all about, right? That's what it's about.
So let me tell you a couple things that might be useful.
Overthrowing the cultural hegemony
The
of
first
the middle
thing
class.
is that
Their culture, their
it
religion.
won't always be easy, but that's okay, because you know who you are. And that's really important. Because
Does
when
he,
you know who
at
you
9
are,
years old, does he know who he is?
you have a center of gravity that can hold you together when all kinds of chaos is happening around you. That's the first thing I want you to know. The second thing I want you to know is that you'll never know who's taking their lead from you, who's watching you and deciding that they can be a little braver because you have been brave.
That's right. We want to promote this as much as possible. So we'll use this child. His parents will use him for political purposes. Buttigieg will use him. And quite frankly, I think this is a shameless display of pedophilia. Let's cut that because I don't want to see any more of that, quite frankly. Look, he began his campaign by going on the offense against Vice President Pence. And he said, look, God made me this way. Biological. Now, I would suggest to you that as Buttigieg and others say, well, this is a biological thing. That was what we were told as they were pushing the Supreme Court marriage definition that we just got of marriage. But if the same kid had come to him and said, well, I've decided that I'm transgender. Okay, well, that's fine too. You can just decide that. So it's not biological now, right? It's mental, and you can be whatever you want. It's whatever gets their agenda pushed. And folks, this isn't about this 9-year-old kid being gay or being transgender. And when you look at them pushing this to prepubescent kids, many of them in kindergarten, let's understand what this is about. This is about nothing other than grooming kids. This is a pedophile agenda. If they can make up their mind at this age, look, when I was 9 years old, I thought I was Batman or Red Ryder, depending on what I just watched on television. I thought girls had cooties. These kids can't make these kinds of decisions. This is being pushed on them by politicians and by their parents. It is child abuse. If they can make up their mind about this, they can consent to sex. That's where this is all going. That's where this has been going from the very beginning. More on this when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You know, as I look at this shameful orchestrated event last night at the Buttigieg event with this 9-year-old saying, thank you for being so brave. Would you help me to tell the world that I'm gay too? I want to be brave like you. Oh, yes, he says, took me a long time, but look, there are people watching you and they're going to see you as an example. That's the whole point of this, right? And I remember, you know, when we made the decision, my wife and I, to homeschool our kids, it was based on two things, really. It was based on her experience as a school teacher and the abuse that she saw, just verbal abuse, you know, telling a kid, go stand in the trash. You're nothing but a piece of trash, from a teacher. She reported it and said, this is happening on an ongoing basis. We have open classrooms. I see this happening. And the principal said, she's tenured. We can't do anything about it. And then the father came in. And the father tried to stand up to her because he was also that same type of personality, easily dominated. She sensed that. And she berated and browbeat the father. My wife heard all this, and she said, this is just horrible. I can't do anything about it. It's systemic part of the system. And then the other thing, and this is way back, maybe 20 years ago, right? Maybe even 30 years ago, might have been sometime in the 90s. There was, in Massachusetts, a court case where a father was not happy about the fact that his 8-year-old was going to be given very detailed sexual instructions at school. And he said, I want to opt out of this. They said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to let, you can't. We're going to do this to all the kids. And I mean, we're talking about heterosexual sex. I mean, we're not talking about drag queen story time or, how to use sex toys like they push now. This was just straight heterosexual sex. But he said, the kid's 8 years old. He shouldn't be doing this right now. He shouldn't be involved in this. And he went to the school to take his kid out of the school, and they had him arrested. And they said, you're trespassing. And, when you bring your kid to school and drop them off, then you have abandoned, this is what the judge said, you have abandoned your child to the state at that point, and we operate in loco parentis, in place of the parents. Quite frankly, that in loco parentis, that applies in a lot of different areas. They're going to use that in loco parentis in terms of vaccines. You can see that in the Virginia vaccination bill about the children. Because, again, Democrats, as they are in California and New York and elsewhere, they're now doing it in Virginia, saying, we're going to tell you what vaccinations your kids need to have and, and when they're going to have it. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get education. And we might do it in loco parentis. Because, you got parents, you got guardians and so forth, but then you have people who are in authority over them at other points in their life, right? And that would be the teachers at school or the counselors or the health people, right? They can act in loco parentis. And so I looked at that and I said, we're just not putting our kids in that kind of a system that does that to kids, that sexualizes them at an early age. And that's exactly this shameful thing that happened with Buttigieg and this kid's so-called parents using their child politically, because this is about, why didn't Buttigieg just hand him a NAMBLA card and say, here, call this number. We got some people there that'll set you straight, right? They'll help you. You'll be so brave, we'll put you out as a poster child for homosexuality at 9 years old. 9 years old. He's several years away from puberty. Why are they pushing this on him? Well, you know why they're pushing it on him. Look, the platform of the Democrat Party, and it's not just the front runner, Bernie, they are all into totalitarianism. Let's call it what it is. Let's forget about the labels of communism and socialism and all this. It's totalitarianism. Every detail of your life. And it's every single one of these people. They're telling everybody, hey, we're going to kill oil, gas, coal, and we're going to take over the power grid. Well, what are you going to power it with? Bernie, AOC, all you people. We're going to kill firearms manufacturers, and we're going to kill the Second Amendment. And you gun owners, if you don't turn over your guns, we're going to kill you as well. We're going to take your kids, and we're going to vaccinate them on our schedule as we demand. We're going to raise your taxes, and you're going to be delighted. Delighted, said Bernie. Delighted to pay more in taxes. So we're going to take your money as well. We're going to take your car. We're going to take your home. We're going to take the meat off your table. We're going to pay people to kill babies. We're going to, and this is the new part of their agenda, we're going to kill churches and Christian organizations if they don't promote the LGBT agenda like this. Because if you speak out against this, as I am right now, you're instantly labeled homophobic, a hater, right? I'm not going to be intimidated by that, quite frankly. I don't fear men. I'm a theophobe. I fear God. Okay, these people don't. And you better fear them because they think they're God. And they want to give godlike power to the government to kill everything, your energy, steal everything from you, kill your kids, whatever. It's not enough. It's not enough to say that you don't want to punish people for punish consenting adults for what they do. Because let's make sure we understand there's a difference between what consenting adults do. Look, as a Christian, I don't expect homosexuals to follow God's law. I'm not going to use the government to arrest them, but they're not content with tolerance. They demand that you celebrate it, just as we saw with this 9-year-old, and they're going to be demanding And it's coming very, very quickly. They're going to demand that you celebrate the kind of pedophile display that we saw there with Buttigieg and that kid. Because this is the Marxist side of him, folks. His father, Pete Sr., the neo-Marxist who taught for 40 years at Notre Dame, said we have to, and he was putting out the writings. He built his whole career on the writings of the founder of the Italian Communist Party, an anti-fascist, as he called himself. And he had what Pete Sr. called the neo-Marxism. He said, we have to understand that, the power of the bourgeoisie, right? We have to destroy the hegemony of the bourgeoisie. We have to destroy the power of the middle class. And we do it by destroying their culture and their religion. And so, like I said, it's not enough just to be able to tolerate these people. Say, consenting adults, you do whatever you want. No. No, you got to celebrate it and you got to embrace it when they do it with minors. And they're not going to allow you to practice your beliefs. That's what this Equality Act is all about, that the Democrats are ramming through. It's about their intolerance. They're not even going to let you tell people about what you believe is a better life. No. Don't you talk about your Christian faith. Years ago, Penn Jillette was approached by Ray Comfort, a street evangelist. And Ray Comfort was concerned about him, and he said, I really appreciate your concern, said Penn Jillette. Because, all these people, all these Christians, he says, I have no respect for these guys who believe that I'm going to go to hell and be tormented eternally. But he goes, because you took the time to talk to me, I really do respect that. But these people don't respect that. They're going to lock you up in jail if you show that kind of concern for somebody. I mean, what kind of passion would you have if you see somebody standing on a railroad track and you see a giant train coming toward them and you don't even warn them about it? But they're not going to let you warn people about that. You must celebrate. You must self-censor yourself, okay? You must remain silent. And you must praise these people. I mean, the bottom line is, when we look at this, again, this is coming after the kids. And we are rapidly, we're not slouching towards Gomorrah, as you had Judge Bork say years ago. No, we're already there. We're already in Sodom. Yeah, bring them out, they said. Bring them out. Come out. Yeah, give us your kids. Give us all of this. Yeah. We are at the final stages, so maybe we should pronounce his name instead of Buttigieg. Maybe we should call it Booty Judge, because this is the final judgment of God as he has removed his blessing from this country and turned us over to our depravity. We saw it right there at that rally.